Hi guys, it's Mrs. Longmire. In all of our previous reading lessons, we've been talking about the different voices that you have when you read. We've talked about your reading voice, the voice that actually reads the words and the pictures, and your thinking voice, the voice that actually whispers to you and tells you what those words and pictures mean. And then we also talked about your distracting voice, that voice that creeps in and gets you thinking about something else, and how good readers have to mute or turn down that distracting voice and refocus on the reading voice and thinking voice and using those two voices together. Well, in today's lesson, we're going to talk about how sometimes readers may want to write down your thinking voice thoughts. There are times when you're going to want to remember what you've read, and you might be reading something that's sort of long and you want to write down so you don't forget. Maybe later on you have to write something about what you've read, or it's just really interesting facts and you don't want to forget it. And so sometimes readers want to write down their thoughts and keep track of their thoughts. They want to write down what the text says, like your reading voice, and then your thinking voice of what you were thinking about and what you thought that means. And so it could be a chart like this, something very simple, where you write down what the words say, what the words were, and then what you were thinking when you read those words. And it could be on something very simple, like you could just have a piece of paper and draw a line down the middle, and on this side, you sort of have that speech bubble, and that's what it says. And you write down certain words. You wouldn't have to write down the whole sentence, but maybe just certain words that you read. And then over on the other side, you would have the thinking bubble. And that's what those words mean. What you thought about when you read, what what that text means, what you were thinking when you read that. And good readers like to kind of keep track of that. And they keep track of what they read, and they keep track of what they were thinking. And that sort of reminds me of sometimes when you're walking in the snow, and maybe you're the very first one to walk through a fresh coat of snow and it's all smooth, and you start to walk through it, and then you look back behind you and you see your footprints in the snow. Well, we want to sometimes leave footprints in our reading, making little notes so that we don't forget where we've been and what we were thinking. Or maybe if you haven't been in snow before, you can think about being in a pool. And when you get out of the pool and your feet are wet and you walk along the concrete or along the wooden deck, and you look back and you see your footprints beside the pool, and you can see where you've been. Same thing. Readers want to track where they've been. And so we can keep track of the words that were in the text, and then what we were thinking when we read those words. And I'm going to show you what this could look like. Today we're going to look at a book on epic books. You know, a couple of lessons ago we talked about Pete the Cat, and we read Pete's Pet. Well, today we're going to read another Pete the Cat book, only it's called Pete the Cat, Pete's Big Lunch. And I'm just going to show you what this could look like when you're reading. So, Pete the Cat's Big Lunch. If we use our reading voice, lunch, here comes Pete. It's lunchtime. Pete is ready to eat. I'm thinking, what is this going to sort of be about? He's ready to eat. And there's even like he's looking at his watch, right? So he must be sort of hungry, right? So I might draw his watch. And I might write lunch time. And then what am I thinking? Well, if he's looking at his watch and he's ready to eat, he's probably hungry, right? I might write the word hungry so I can remember how he was feeling. Let's turn the page. What should Pete eat? A sandwich would be nice. Yes, Pete wants a sandwich. He opens the fridge. So he wants a sandwich. So I'm going to write sandwich. That's what he's talking about wanting. And he's opening the fridge. I'm going to draw the bread. Oh, I see a fish in there. He's got lots of different choices, mayo. So I'm going to draw some of the things that he's thinking about eating for his on his sandwich. He takes out a loaf of bread. He finds a yummy fish. He adds tomato and mayo. Let me use my thinking voice for a minute. So look, he didn't even open up the bread. He just put the loaf of bread on the plate with the fish and the mayo and an apple or a tomato. That's a tomato, isn't it? Yes. So he's just loading up his plate, but he's not even opening up the food. So I'm going to draw the plate and his sandwich, but he's got the bag of bread, right? And he's got the fish and the tomato. He's not cutting it up like I would normally think you would for a sandwich. Turn the page. Pete looks at his sandwich. It is too small. Something is missing. Pete knows what he needs. His sandwich needs an apple. Pete loves apples. So I'm going to write apple, and now he's adding an apple to his sandwich. And and that way I'll remember he just kept growing and adding things to his sandwich. His sandwich needs crackers. Crackers are crunchy. Pete loves crunchy crackers. Pete looks at his sandwich again. It is still too small. So he thinks it's too small. Those are the words. So wonder what he's going to do. He's going to he added crackers. So I'll draw little squares of crackers. I'll remember that those are crackers. And he still thinks it's too small. So now he's going to add a pickle. He adds cheese. Pete adds an egg, 2 hot dogs, a banana, and a can of beans. So I'll draw the pickle, the 2 hot dogs, the banana, the egg. And you can just see his sandwich growing and growing and growing. And I'll remember what some of those things are. I'll be able to remember. That's the egg, and those are the hot dogs and the banana. Okay, so that's what good readers do. Sometimes they make notes when they're reading so that you can remember what you were reading about. And that way you can really understand, and if you need to write about it later, you'll have those footprints in your reading, just like in the snow and at the pool. So if Mrs. Longmire was your teacher next, I would have you just get out a piece of paper and just draw a line like I did, and maybe make a speech bubble and a thinking bubble. And then you could record your own footprints through the book and write down what the words actually said, a word or two, and then you can draw a picture about what you were thinking when you saw those words, just like we did with Pete the cat. Okay? If you were in my class, that's what I would have you do. Or we also have in our resources one that you can print out that already have the speech bubble say and the thinking voice mean. And you can print that out if you want, but it would be just as easy to draw it also. But your teacher may have a better idea. Thanks, and have a great day.